So once we start to do that, the last one, you start to evolve polycultures. You start to learn how the plants relate together. We start to build the layers, right? And then the system starts to take on its own design. So when we start to evolve a permaculture on grasslands or on compacted soils, then the very first step is to thoroughly plan the site, then to rip, which is keyline, swale, pit, or dam, every area that needs to be planted. So I want to capture the maximum rainfall. Water is my number one energy source other than sun, and without water I can't grow anything. So that's my first step. Thus, we ensure the maximum wet season soil water storage. So all the rain that falls in the rainy season, I don't want any of it to go off my property. I want to catch 100% and store it in my soils, because that's the only thing I have during the dry season, right? So that's the most important aspect when you're in a dry place, is capturing all of the water that falls on that property. So on loose soils, so if you're in soils that are sandy, you need to be looking into practicing what's called mulched swales. If the water goes to the swale and it's sandy, it's just going to all go away, right? So a technique that I can do is to put mulch or compost in the bottom of the swale. So when the water goes to the swale, it's stored in the compost or in the mulch. Mix trees and or legumes, so I can cut branches and put in the bottom of the swale too. They will hold the moisture when they're rotting, okay? Any things like fruits, bananas, papayas, arrowroots, all of my cuttings, everything can go in the bottom of the swale if I have sandy soils. So there should be one such plant every 1.5 meters. So in this instance, if I'm in sandy conditions, once I mulch the bottom of the swale, I can plant in the bottom of the swale. The swale captures the water, it's held in the mulch, right? And then I can plant a banana, or I can plant a papaya, or I can plant any other thing that's a water-loving plant. So once the water's there, I try to get the water to come up into the plant. Remember, every banana held 40 liters of water, or 40 gallons, right? That's a lot of water per plant. So get the water there, and then get it into the plant, and it'll hold the water over the dry season. So the end aim is to completely carpet the whole area and to shade the ground. So first step, cleared monoculture that we had here. First step was cover everything in ground covers. Second step is to get the trees to come up and start to shade the property more because it was too hot, right? Dusty and hot. So now, even in the hot season, it's still hot, but at least we have some shade. We're not generating dust clouds everywhere. It was really bad the first years here, I can tell you. It was not nice. And then when it rained, it was just like the worst mud puddle you've ever seen in your life, right? So over a period of time, we can take a condition that's almost unlivable, and then you can turn it into a livable condition. So ideally, we have dense plantings, as we can see, very dense. This type of grass should be mulched, so we can cut grass to make hay. So as Pichon did today, he cut the grass. We typically let our grass grow up almost two feet at least. So when I cut it, I'm going to make mulch. When it falls down, it stops the grass from growing back. So I use the grass to control the grass. And we can use any type of monsoon grasses, which is like the napier. So in our broad scale, I have the napier. The napier grows 3 meters in 1 year. It holds 250,000 kilos of grass per acre. Right, guys? That's a lot. Then it's all stored in water because it's holding the water in the grass. So that's a really great opportunity to take grasses to hold water through dry seasons. And swamp grasses or anything like that, arrowroot, comfrey, banana, acacia, any green shrub. So whatever you can get to grow, get your green up, get your cover, and get your trees up, and then you'll change that climate. So the number of effectively harvested species in a polyculture is decided by a complex arrangement of these factors. The number of people that are responsible for managing the crops is equal to the diversity and how much you're going to yield. So there's a relationship to how much work you can do, right? How many people say work here? How many people go out every day? How many people are in the garden is a relationship to how productive the garden will be. Who was in the garden today? Well, if we had 20 people, we get 20 times the work done. If only one person, you get 1 times the work done. So there's a relationship to productivity and the number of people. The proximity of the complex, like us, to a village, meaning that I can get people to help. So today there were people working on the goat house, providing for a better establishment from the goat, and they live in the village. So they're able to come each day on their motorbike and they work, and then when they go home. So we can have labor because we live next to the village and we interact with the village in a community setting. The relative cost-benefit balance of increasing inputs. What does that mean? Sometimes if I need to buy something like an additive to put in my soil, I have to ask myself, if I buy this, what am I going to get? I could buy worm castings, but they're expensive. I could make them myself. There's a cost-benefit analysis that needs to go on. So be careful about asking, I can get these inputs, I can buy this, I buy this, I buy this, but how much do I get back? Remember, permaculture and farming is a lot like investing. If I pay for this, what do I get back? And I don't want to pay for anything if I don't get anything back, okay? So consumption means that I paid money and I don't get anything. Investing means I paid for it, but I can still use it. So I could see this as an investment. I used it today, but it didn't go away, right? It'll still be there. And tomorrow it'll still be there. And I can put water in it, right? Because traditionally this with ties, they put their water in there. So at that point, that can be an investment, but if it breaks, okay, I can replace it. But if something like consuming coffee is consumptive, coffee's good, I like it, but it's also consumptive. So we have to then try to balance what we're going to pay and what we're going to get. The relative cost benefit of balance. So the need for effective plant guilds. You have to start to learn the plants. At my house, this is a tree. What likes to grow with that tree? This is something that should be taught at schools from like little kids could pick this up because you know kids learn really fast. Why don't they teach us the plants that like to grow with each tree, right? Kids could catch on so fast, right? But we don't do that. And the need for marketing. Remember, don't grow stuff you can't sell. So if at the end you want to try to derive your income from your agriculture, then you need to grow things that there's really already a market for. So we grow sugarcane, we grow rice, okay? We grow corn, we grow cows, we have all these different things, but every one of those already has an established market, and the locals like those things. They want them. So I'm easy for me to sell my product, right? I don't have to work hard. If I bring in some weird fruit that could be from somewhere that's really interesting, but nobody wants to buy it, well, maybe for my personal consumption, I keep one tree. But don't bring some weird fruit to some place just because I thought it was great and then plant 10,000 trees and nobody wants to buy it. These are the type of things that we need to think about. And the total area which is to be controlled. How big can you really take care of? I think personally, on a permaculture level, I bought more land when I first got involved than maybe I needed to. So now I have property that I don't really interact with very much. And I wonder if that's ethical, because if I don't interact with it and it doesn't grow food to be sold, right? Is that ethical? So I allow my father-in-law to do it still on a broad scale in a monoculture because I don't have enough energy I can't do everything. I can only do so much, right? So these are things that we have to ask ourselves. So typically people in permaculture think about 5 acres. More than 5 acres, and you need a tractor. You're not going to be able to maintain that without like equipment. So you don't really need a big place. And with a nice 5-acre farm and the right products, you will be able to support your family. So that's what it is. So don't think about too big. So the maturity of the stage of the evolution of the plants. As I said before, think about how long it takes for me. So when I go to buy my property, I may have to save money. I buy my property 5 acres. Okay, cool. So the first year, that's all I did. I went back to work. I worked for another 2 years. I have enough money. I build my house. Cool. I go back to work. At that time, the first year I planted my fruit trees, and by the 5th year, I have my house and I have my trees, and my trees I can sell the product, right? So I don't have to have all the money at one time. I can walk my way through. I can have a plan to do it in a time period. When we bought Raktamachat, right, for the first 6 years, I didn't live here. Every year I dug a pond, we planted trees, and then I went back to Singapore and worked more. Because after it was kind of, what are you going to do? I'm waiting for the trees to grow. Once the trees start to mature, they start to come in, guess what? Okay, I come back, I manage the trees and things. So you don't have to be there, but you need to do the investment first. So some potential things that you could look at, or potential species. Basic food species. How many basic food species could you put on your property? Mulch and fodder provision. What species can you list? So this is, remember the research I said? We start to list the name of the plant and what it does. This plant does this, and this plant does this, and I need these things. If I don't have mulch, how do I do my garden? Where do I get it from? I don't have basic foods. Where do I get them from? Where do I have medicines or anything like that? What about structure? If I want to build my house, where do I get the tree to build my house? Or a craft, if I want to have bamboo to make tables to sell, which is great, but where did the bamboo tree come from? Any culinary herbs, beverages, fuels, woods, or any special uses, or maybe something could be considered sacred, used in a religious ceremony. So if we look at that, maybe your total cultivated species, so you have a list of all the species that you grow, and that's the total species I have. How many species do y'all think that I have? I have a list. I love getting new species. Y'all saw me the other day. We planted that vine. I told you I stole it from the mall. Right? It's a new species. I like it. So that's something every time I get a new species, right? What is it for? Is that an ornamental? Is that an edible? What is that species? And each one of those is going to give us that yield at the bottom. So the uses, how many different uses. So this is just a way of looking at understanding the plants that I can get and I can cultivate and what I do with my plants. So the steps in a total planning are roughly in priority. So this is how I would go through this. Access to market. Don't grow things or invest in something if you cannot sell it. After that, what are the future prices going to be? Do you think that this is still going to be popular in the future? And if not, then you might not want to plant a lot of this and the price is going to go down. And the potential for processing it to a higher value. Remember, perishable things are not very good. So if I have something that's perishable and I can't sell it, I lose my crop, right? Nobody bought it from me. But if I can take it, like mulberries, and make jam, then I can sell that jam easy, right? And if I didn't sell it, I still have it. So that would be something that I would look at it being non-perishable, jam. Perishable, raw mulberries. So after I do all that, look at legal, labor, and anything like that. Analyze and get advice on your soils and get a nutrient test. So test your soils to know what you can grow and work on your soils. After that, you can plan your ground layout. So how is your place going to look? What are your windbreaks? Okay, controlling wind and water. Look at access. How are you going to get to your property? Plan and carry out any essential earthwork. So now that I've got a market, what I'm going to do, I'm going to do my planning. I make my earthworks. After I have my earthworks, I establish a nursery so I can start to grow my trees. Remember, you can't get all the trees you may need in 1 year. It would be too expensive. So I have to grow them over a period. For me, it took 10 years, okay, so that I could get that many trees. And commence broad-scale placements after your windbreaks. So once the windbreaks are up, then you can start to move into the broad scale because you need protection first. After that, you can continue to do any assessments because your plan is organic. Your plan is going to change. Your life will change. You're going to travel. You're going to find new things in life. And your plan's always changing with you, right? Oh, I like this, or do I like this? And so your plan gets to be for you. It's not for me. So when you finish your plan, right, it's your document to keep for the rest of your life to collect ideas. So it helps you to have a place to collect ideas. And when I do research or I learn something new, I can put it in my life plan, right? This is what I want for my life. What am I going to do to make the things I want for my life happen? That's kind of what the document is. It's like, and that's why it's kind of fun to play with. So first step, your goals. Second step, okay, goals related to how am I going to support myself, right? And anything you want to do. And that actually really brings us into more of a permaculture planning. It's not just about a farm. I've had plenty of people submit to me and do master plans, and there was nothing grown. They did not grow a single thing. And it was a great plan. One person, I'm going to have a yoga studio, and I'm going to outside have a really nice garden, right? But I'll do yoga and the gardener, but I really just want to do that, and I'm a good yoga teacher. Is a yoga teacher good? Everybody got to be a farmer? No. Because that yoga teacher could get the money from other people, and then they pay, and then she goes to the farmer's market, and she buys from the farmer. So you don't have to be a farmer, but you do have to ask yourself a single question. What is your livelihood? Is it a right livelihood? Does it make you happy? I know when I had my job before, man, did I like getting my check every month. It was a good check. I'm not really sure I liked what I was doing. When I asked myself deep questions like, am I really helping the world here? Am I helping other people? Nah. What am I making? You know that I built things that are $1 billion. You know, projects $1 billion US. I signed the checks. After 10 years, we would scrap the project and build a new one. It had a design life of only 10 years. And then we tore it down. Is that sustainable? Is that smart? Spend $1 billion and it only lasts for 10 years? I don't know. I didn't think so, so I decided I wanted to have a new life. I want to have a new livelihood. That's what I went to school for, but when I was young, I don't know, right? What do I know? So as I got older, I can ask myself a question. What's going to make me happy? What's going to make my family happy? What am I going to be able to tell my kids when they grow up that I do? Yeah? My kids get up every morning before school and they wadi me and they say, well, basically translated from Thai, but it says that Sawadi kun daddy teacher. So they have to wadi me because I'm their teacher, right? So they see me as a teacher because I go to be the teacher, and they go to school because every day when they go to school they have to sawadi their teacher, right? So they don't see the difference between me and their teachers. Or should I tell them what I did before? You think I should tell them someday about the 6 people who died while they were working for me? Yeah? Come on, guys. We all got to carry something, right? I got 6 dead people. I was in charge. They died. I was in charge to say, get them off the job site. Keep working. We didn't shut down. We didn't stop. But you know why? You buy oil every day. Every one of you are sitting wearing oil. All I see is oil. Our world right now is being funded, and our consumption, your ability to travel, your ability to have a phone, your ability to do social media is all funded by oil. Everything. So when I left that job, do you think that they stopped? No, they didn't slow down for 1 minute. So I have to ask myself, I know I don't like that, but what could I do to make a difference? So when we look at these, we're looking at these humid tropics. It might not be a place that you're from. And when we look at temperate, this other person's not from there. Or if we look at a desert, you're not from there. But the question we have to ask ourselves is, what are we going to do? And if we could help other people. So as we all travel, we can go to these places, and these are great recommendations to try to help a person who may not know about it. Big thing about sharing. So we can gain knowledge, you're gaining knowledge, and we can share that knowledge. And that's why sometimes, because this is learning actual relevant things, it's not that interesting. Yeah? I think schools, who here loves being in school? Not many people love sitting in school. But sometimes we can gain knowledge that we can use. And that's why I thought permaculture was more inspiring for me. It was practical. I had practical knowledge that I could gain, and I could do something with it. Because when I had my engineering, I don't really know what I did with it on a personal level. I don't know if it helped me on any personal level, no spiritual level, no relationship level. Okay, all I know is, so for whatever reason, they pay a lot of money because we all buy lots of stuff, right? That's the cycle. So we ask ourselves, a lot of these strategies are about reducing consumption. I asked you, how are you going to cook your food if you don't use oil or coal or nuclear? How are you going to do that? That's a hard question. Not easy. So hopefully on your plans, start asking those questions. That's the real fun part about permaculture again. Asking myself a question, having free time to think about, to learn who I am, learn what I want. Share with your other friends, look at their plans. That's the best time now. You're moving into planning, people drawing pictures. How is it going, right? That's where we want to start to move into. And capturing what you need. What do I need versus what I want, right? And I had lots of wants, and I got paid lots, and I spent, and I wanted, and anything I wanted, I could buy. And now I live with almost nothing. I don't leave Raktamachat almost ever. Right? I don't need to go to CQ. There's nothing there I want. So I work on my garden. I work on sharing things. I work with you guys. Ask yourself in the future, what are you going to do? What do you want? What do you need? And that's a simple question. So that's it for today. Move into there. Start learning about the plants. They're going to be your best friends. The more you learn about plants, the more you'll want to learn about plants. And the more that you learn about plants, wow. Amazing. How did they not teach us more of that in school when we're kids?